Yo, peeps, you want to start?
Yeah, what up, man? It's episode 2, let's say, of the Frank podcast. I'm Frank,
And
yeah, we'll get better at that.
We'll get better.
And this is the second episode. We already got quite a bit of feedback from the first one. We appreciate everyone who took the time to listen, like, subscribe, comment. Going forward, we're going to need your support, and we really, really appreciate all the constructive criticism we've also gotten. We still need to get a lot of the logistical stuff out the way, specifically the sound quality.
the
sound quality. Breaking things in a more succinct manner that's better for consumption and things of that nature, So we'll get onto it, but in the meantime, we're back for another episode. Got a lot of interesting topics. As you can see, we both look tired as hell because it's but we dedicated. You know what I mean? We back here. We dedicated. It's Halloween weekend. We both had some interesting weekends. You know what I'm saying? Like, what were you up to?
So it's episode 3. You said episode 2, but it's episode 3. Right. We're gonna release it soon. We're gonna release the second one. But yeah, I kind of wanted to say, start off with like you said, everything that needs to be taken care of in terms of the podcast. I think we're still growing. But my weekend, went out. It was my girl weekend, so her birthday weekend. So we did. I don't know if we did. Went out to a restaurant on Friday. It cost me some dope.
Whoa, you go to Salt Bay? Like
fine dining. Listen, fine dining is it's a fine dining. No, it was fun. It was a great experience. We both had a great time. A lot of drinks, like I said. It's fine dining. That's what it was. And then follow up.
Was it good? Good food?
Man, we black man. Listen. I'm I was about to say. It was good food. But I just feel like it was not enough for what we paid, It's more so like, how they try to, this is what I hate about, I guess, not fine dining, it's just like, they try to make the plate look like, great and bomb. And
like,
just
this is some Da Vinci food.
Like Da Vinci, I'm like, dude, like, just I want some, I like the decoration, the way it looks like, but I do want to have some food. So I felt like, we could have had a little more, but it was fun. So we did that on Friday. Saturday was I think we had a party, all dressed up. All dressed up. It was pretty fun as well. So like you said, man, long weekend. We're getting old, man. We're getting old. Our body, we're not able to do the runaround.
I was about to say that, bro. I went out on Friday and went out on Saturday. I quickly realized, I just entered my 30s. I can't do that no more, man. It's one night maximum per weekend because I woke up this morning like looking like a dope fiend. I'm telling you for real. I was just slumped over town. Oh man, I can't do that no more, man. I'm done out here. I'm looking for, to put my jersey up in the rafters. I cannot do that no more, man. You start I was wandering and stumbling after just a few drinks just last night. It was too much, man. Yeah. It was too much, especially during Halloween. And you will have fun, but also everything is overpriced because all the places know we gonna make some money, so everything is congested. It was still fun. I still had a lot of fun. Shout out to everybody that I saw, but nah, man, I'm done. Once in maybe 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks. I can't do that no more. I ain't a college boy no more.
Yeah, man. I think we did our time. I think I did my time in the street, like you said, of the going out. And it's the same thing you said. Like, it gets to a point where you can do maybe 1 out of the week, 1 hour you go all out, and then after that, man, it take you like a whole. Like I always talk about it with a friend of mine. We always laugh about it where we go out, we drink, we have fun, but then the next day, man, it takes you you wasting your entire day just trying to recover with water, food, and you're not as productive as you would want to be. It's just like, yeah, man, like I woke up at what time did I wake up today? 10, it wasn't too bad, but still. We still made it, we're still gonna.
We're still dedicated.
We're still dedicated, like you said. We're gonna record this episode. Yeah, man. And on having said that, let's kind of get these things
Yeah,
started.
man. So obviously, we got our podcast, and one thing that we kind of like to do is see, the landscape of the podcast environment. And one thing we've kept an eye on is the whole Joe Budden, Rory and Mal thing. So Rory and Mal, for y'all that don't know, they were on the Joe Budden podcast, that was one of the more innovative podcasts in the recent times. They had the Spotify deal and all that kind of stuff, but then things went a little sour between them and Joe Budden, supposedly due to some financial contractual terms. Joe Budden wasn't paying them what they were properly due or something in that nature. He wasn't really showing them, even though they had a revenue split share agreement, apparently. He wasn't really showing them what the full revenue was. He was just giving them money here and there. So they were trying to get some clarification over what was really going on. And then Joe Budden started, the rah-rah stuff and all that kind of stuff. And that eventually led to them leaving the podcast. But then this week, a couple days ago, it came to be released that they got a $10 million deal to get on Sirius XM. And meanwhile, Joe Budden, his podcast has not been the same since those guys. Numbers-wise, it's not been the same since those guys left. Yeah, absolutely. When you look at, I know he moved some of his stuff to Patreon, but at the same time, if you look at the number of views, they dramatically decreased once Rory and Mal left. And on top of that, he had this Cash App deal. You had to believe got him a lot of money. Once that whole Rory and Mal thing happened, deal was done. So that got me to thinking just the business environment and how you should treat your people correctly. And also when you do business as friends. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, you and me could have a disagreement, but how do we let that affect our business?
Right.
And it's kind of sad when you look at Joe, because I'm a fan of pretty much anything that Joe Budden creatively puts out, but it's the business aspect of things he doesn't seem to manage in that same brilliance.
You remember you always told me, Joe Budden, again, he's a very talented human being, but I think you told me that, but Charlemagne said the same thing, where he's the common denominator in all the things that messes up in his life, where talk about relationship, and it's not even trying to get on him or anything like that, but it's just like, we're going to focus on the business aspect of things, but it's like, he always found a reason to say it was a bad deal. So a lot of time, people were on his side because we're just like, we don't know what's going on, and we feel like, maybe whatever he says, because I remember one thing that came out of that deal where he wouldn't even allow them to see the contract themselves, Rory and he wouldn't even want them to see the contract, right? And I think that's crazy because an argument can be made where he gave them the exposure that they have today. So I think maybe that's where he comes from, where you guys wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for me, which is true. Which is true. Yeah. But at the same time, it's just like,
would your podcast have gotten there if it wasn't for them as well? That's the thing as well.
That is the thing as well. That is true. I mean, that is true.
I have my word on that. The thing about Joe Budden, listen, I'm a guy that's really interested in mental health and why people think and do the things that they do, right? And Joe Budden, his entire career, when he was rapping, people used to make fun of him because he was a mental health rapper. He used to describe all his problems with depression and things of that nature. And, a lot of people, especially back then, didn't really want to hear that. Nowadays, rappers do that all the time. But back then, they didn't really want to do that. And he talked about going to therapy, and he speaks about that a lot during his podcast. But the thing that I wonder is, you've gone through all this mental health issues. You've done all of this work, and yet you're still the same narcissist. Is it that you've just... Because the thing about... I've been in therapy, right? And one thing that they sometimes tell you, a big aspect of it is acceptance. Just accept that certain things are happening, accept that, times may be tough, and also just accept that there are maybe certain qualities about yourself that may not be the most appealing to other people, but you shouldn't just waste your time trying to change them. Maybe Joe Budden has just accepted he's a narcissist, period. And that anyone who deals with him has to accept that. So so playing devil's advocate, do you feel that it's okay to maybe look at Rory and Mal and be like, yo, man, didn't you see everything that's happening in this guy's career? Don't you think that maybe y'all should have seen this coming?
I mean, I think first of all, I think we all have a bit of a narcissistic qualities, not qualities, but tendencies within us, especially in our generation. In our generation, given the whole social media rise and everything that we mentioned in a previous episode, but I think it's a level of narcissism. You know what I mean? Like it's level of him where it's just like, dude, you can't. I mean, you said it yourself, where it's just like I don't know, like you feel like it's him and only him. Like I don't know, I don't understand how you cannot. You built something with people like, okay, it's a Joe Budden channel, it's the board. Clearly, everything is named after you, so we get it. But it's just like how can you not see that? Especially for someone that you're talking about, because the major thing where people were not frustrated with Joe is you're talking about how these big corporations are screwing over the artists, and here you are doing the same exact thing to your artists. So it's just like, how big of a hypocrite, you know what I mean? Are you? Like, that's literally what it is. And also, like you said, the friendship level, where those are not even people from the street. Those are people that you actually know. So how can you sit here and be like, I don't know, I mean, like you said, like, if I eat, we all eat. And I don't understand how you don't have this mindset where we've built this thing together and you making money, because they were making money. So it's like, how much money do you need to be you're satisfied and be content, where you want to control everything? Me, I don't even know if it's narcissism. It's more so about control, where I feel like he want to control everything. He want to know that he's a Joe Budden podcast. I'm the one running stuff, and he doesn't want to give them. I think that also, because I think he has the final say in everything, right? So I think that maybe was it a part where he saw them gaining notoriety, and it became a problem to him, where he felt like he's no longer the Joe Budden podcast, but it's more the Joe Budden and Rory and Mal podcast. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't. I guess.
I think actually, just to cut you off, sorry, but I think it was more alongside what you just said, the control aspect. Yeah. Because I remember he put out a podcast that he later deleted around the time where he fired them on air. He deleted that, and that was one of the cringiest hours and a half that I ever heard. Like, yo, how are you gonna take that kind of stuff and put it on podcast in front of everyone? Because when you do stuff like that, you're not just looking to settle this whole business argument you got going on. No, you're looking to embarrass them. Yeah. And when he did that, he was on there talking about like, yo, why do y'all feel you have a say doing for what's going on in the podcast? It's my podcast. I brought y'all on and this and that and the third. And they even did a response video where they said the problem was simply he did not allow them to see the actual returns, the financials, the expenses, the accounting of their podcast. That was it. It wasn't even necessarily the money that they were making. It wasn't really the money that they were making, because they said they were making great money. They were getting paid well. But they just weren't sure it was the proper money, period. Even though they had a revenue share agreement. And again, like you said, it may just be control, man. It's control, but
is it contract? Okay, but is there a contract aspect where? And it's funny because to me, I feel like it's such a big lesson to learn for people that are starting out with their friends, because I even thought about it as we started this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I'm just like, it's such a great lesson for people that want to start, businesses with their friends and things like that. And even like for us, where how do you have to treat, well, I feel like we should know, but sometimes we feel like we know, but money can get the best out of people. Sometimes when you think you know someone is, and when you start doing business with this person, it's just like, damn, like, you're just going to let money ruin this whole thing? Like me, I'm just like, let's create art. I mean, you remember, we always said, let's create art. The money will come. And when the money comes, your talent will speak for itself. Look at them. They just signed a $10 million contract. So it's just like, why do you worry about the money when we were making great money? It's what I don't understand, where it's just like, and maybe I don't understand because I'm just not at that level just yet, but it's just like the greed behind it. Because...
Well, that's a human thing.
Right, but he still has the control. He still has the final say. You were still probably going to make more money than them because you are the creator. You are the, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, I don't know if it's a greed thing where, if let's say, and not even let's say, if we blow up, I mean, when we blow up, if I'll be like, you know what? Let's say, I don't know, we're signing like a $50 million deal. Nah, Rogan, anyway, but we're signing like a $50 million. I was like, Rogan got $100 million. Yeah, we can get it. No, but that let's say, all right, so Spotify give us like a $50 million deal, and I'm like, you know what, man? I want 40. I want like 30, and you want 20. And I'm just like, bro, we both making money. Like I was like, you know what I mean? Like we both millionaire at this point. I don't need. I always feel like I don't need that money like that, bro.
Well, that's a conversation we can get into later.
Yeah.
Because that's a very interesting conversation. I think it's a societal conversation as well. But a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people really, it's a rat race, and that's why I think is so major about the United States. About the United States, it's all about individualism, selfishness, and making sure that you get ahead, maybe even to the detriment of people around you, including your friends. And that's why I think is this whole Joe Budden thing is so sad, because he had it all in the palm of his hand. He had it all in the palm of his. I was listening to it was funny. Everyone thought it was great, but
I think it was the #1 hip hop podcast out there.
Easily.
That is so crazy.
Easily. But the thing about it is, then the great lesson that has to be learned about this is, listen, I'm not Joe Budden's accountant. I'm not trying to be in his pockets like that. I don't know how much money he makes off the podcast now. But, bro, I was just thinking one thing. Having the goodwill of the people matters a lot.
Right.
Because the way that his views dropped after the whole Rory and Mal debacle, I don't even think it was necessarily the people were, sure, Rory and Mal had their fans and all that kind of stuff, obviously. Yeah. But I think it was mostly the people being like, yo, man, he really screwed them over in a way that we feel is hypocritical to all the stuff that he was talking about before.
But do you really feel like people care about that and because of that?
Yeah, I really do believe it's kind of like that. Because and also, listen, I don't want to go too deep on the Joe Budden, but also he has a history of a lot of like detrimental stuff that's happened in PR and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So when you add all of that to the pile, at a certain point, people might just be like, yo, man, this dude is just...
He's like,
especially if you're a fan that's followed him throughout the years, you stuck with him, but then things keep piling up. You're like, yo, man, how long am I going to defend this man? Plain and simple.
I feel like you're speaking as a fan. You're just I can feel it in your voice.
Yeah, because
I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but it's just like, nah.
No, man, I'm not even gonna lie. I still listen to the podcast. It's still enjoyable to me. Yeah. It's still enjoyable to me. Like, I think talent-wise, this dude's talent and his ability to create content and get people engaged is amazing.
He's a great storyteller. He's a great storyteller.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But everything around that, the way he manages his business and all that kind of stuff, you're like, yeah, it's not my business, and who the hell am I to even say anything about it? But still, man, it's disappointing, plain and simple.
So, last question before we move on to another topic. Do you don't think that the two guys that replace Rory and Mal are as good? Or you think like they're like
honestly,
does it change the form? Does it change the I think the podcast now that Rory and Mal are gone? You know what I mean? Like do they bring as much quality? Because I don't follow it as much. So I like, you know, I listen to some stuff here and there, but I don't not quite as much as you. So I'm trying to figure out like if those two guys are just as good.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the quality of the podcast has not changed at all. It's probably I enjoy it just as much as I did in the past. I still miss Rory and Mal, but the thing that I found out quality wise, let's put all that other stuff to the side. Just judging the quality of the podcast, to me personally, it's still good, and that's what it taught me. Like, this is Joe's podcast. Joe is the one that makes this stuff good. All these other, he can bring in two guys so long as they speak okay and all that kind of stuff, like they're B and C mics.
But
that's cool.
But now you're making his point. Because that's what he's like, used to joke. Like, I can replace your, and I think that was his point.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that may be his point, but there's still something to say about the goodwill. About the goodwill. And I think that's what hurt him. And listen, I'm not even going to say, because I've checked out Rory and Mal's podcast too. I think it's cool. I think I can listen to it. But it's not the same as, you know, how they were with Joe. Yeah. And I think, and I don't want to go in on them like that, but you know who Mal, do you know who Mal is?
No.
And
I know Rory a little bit, but not Mal.
Mal is the younger brother of the man who built Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z.
What?
So both those guys, Rory too has a lot of connections. So I feel it's kind of like their connections that eventually helped them get the deal. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that they're talentless and they're just industry plants.
You know
but,
what?
But at the end of the day, I'm sure it certainly helped. You know.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Good point made. I mean, we could go on and on about this podcast because there's so many things that I could be saying about it, but in interest of time.